Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's a Quebec Nordiques kind of episode. Here we go again, episode 48. I'm here with the boys. It's a bigger, larger, and uncut episode going forward of the 1973 podcast. Fellas, are you ready to get going?
Let's make it happen.
Big things trying to make happen here. Big things.
Let's go.
Yes.
Yeah, we need to do some housekeeping first here at the beginning of before we even get started. So, due to the fact that we are still couch fishing and stuff like that, we've had to change our law firms. Now we've had to go to a private attorney. It's Sam Lyman. Sam Small Print Lyman. We never travel home without him. So
that's right. We never leave home without our longtime attorney, Sam Small Print Lyman.
Yeah, I mean, he's only been on the payroll for all of basically 5 days. So unfortunately, Bleeker and Cohaga, they were too expensive of a law firm for us, so we had to let them go, unfortunately.
Yeah, so we had to go with a more hockey related guy. So
there you go.
So speaking of that, Ed, it's your time. This is your. We always
my time. All right.
Yep. So
this is Hey. This is here we go. This is sponsored by GoonGuard, GoonGuard.com. Use the promo code 1973. Guess what? Best fitting mouth guards in the galaxy. It takes you 10 seconds to fit them in your mouth. You can talk with them. You can play with them. You can talk smack. And, I know a couple guys on this podcast could probably talk smack and wear them at the same time too. So, I believe it's the man with the big C on his chest. He can certainly do that. He can.
Your captain.
There you go. Your captain. Set speed, whoop speed. Mr. Zulu. All right. So this is from Jamie from Galway, Ireland. I mean, so look at that. I mean, we are going across the pond. Can you believe this? So it says, "Hey guys, Jamie from Galway, Ireland. I came across your podcast on Spotify and thought not bad. My question is your opinion on other podcasts. Have you ever appeared on and to promote yours? We have not. I'm gonna kick it around to these fine, unclassy gentlemen, and you guys go first, and I'll clean it up at the end."
Okay, so let me jump on this grenade first. I watch a lot of podcasts. I try to kind of get a template of what is kind of relevant, what flows really well. And so I can't say that I do not watch other podcasts. I really do. It's for educational purposes only. I would love to spread out some of these guys and let them do some interviews and promote the podcast on other formats. If anybody who's watching that has a podcast, I'd love to send Chris, Brad, Tom, Ed, even on another podcast and just promote what we do. That way I don't have to get long-winded with some of the stuff that goes on with this podcast behind the scenes. But we do watch, at least me, I do watch, especially like Joe Rogan's podcast. And I really enjoy Jim Cornette's podcast. That's probably my favorite wrestling podcast as far as talking old school stories and truth about wrestling and none of this modern day BS. But as far as that goes, guys, what's your thoughts on other podcasts, and would you go on another podcast? Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I'd do an interview. That's fine. I watch a couple sports ones. I don't watch a ton of them. I'm just starting to get into them a little bit more, and that's more to like go on and see how they do it and see if we can pick up any pointers and see what works for them and if it would work for us, and just see how the flow works and how if they flow any differently and if what they do is better. And but yeah, definitely, I definitely listen and take notes.
Chris.
Yeah, I'm a truck driver, man. I drive all night. I can't watch videos or YouTube or any of that, so I'm watching podcasts all day. Rogan's one of my favorites. I love doing that. So yeah, I definitely dabble around, and you give me a bottle of whiskey, I'll go on any podcast and make a fool of myself.
What do you got, Brad?
I mean, I would love to be on another podcast too. I mean, this whole experience with y'all has just been, pretty fun, pretty amazing time, just hanging out and chilling and whatnot. I like Theo Vaughn's podcast. If you guys know him, he's a comedian. Sam Tripoli's where I go for all my conspiracy theories, and Sam has like 3 or 4 spinoff podcasts I listen to. Andrew Schultz is a good one if you guys are into comedians, and and all Andrew Schultz does is sit around with his homeboys. They just get basically drunk and talk shit to their whoever their guest is for 2 hours. I've actually been thinking about starting my own podcast, but I don't know. That seems like a lot of work too. So I kind of like just appearing on this one and letting Andy do all the work.
That's a good thought, Brad. I like the way you think. Ed, what do you got?
Oh man, I think it would be a lot of fun to go on somebody else's podcast and promote us. I think it would be a lot of fun. I mean, I do listen to Rogan every now and again. I listen to Jocko's podcast. I don't really have a tremendous amount of time to listen to other podcasts, but I mean, I don't have a gigantic lawn to mow anymore. So the podcast listening has gone down to quite minimal. But I mean, if somebody said, "Hey, do you want to come on?" Absolutely. Why not? It'll be a lot of fun. I mean, this has kind of started off with basically, our podcast. What started off was pretty much Flags with Friends. If you get the reference, get the reference. And all of a sudden now it's like we have really good guys, and I think that our content has definitely gotten much better as we go along. So I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think this year is going to be better for us this second year than the first year. That's just my thoughts. I think we've opened some doors that weren't available at the beginning. I think we made some really, really good contacts. And I'm just hoping to grow it from there. And it seems like, for me, the research that I've done with it is the first week. Initially, you get that splash of people want to hear what's relevant, but are they going back and watching older episodes? And I think that's when the best stuff's come in, and it kind of pulls you into, hey, maybe I'll go back and watch the full clip of these guys talking about what they were talking about at that time. So yeah, it just staying relevant week to week. And I got that advice from somebody that helps us out with the intro to the show. It's tough to get a podcast off the ground week to week because you got to stay consistent in doing it all the time. And that's what I think we've tried to do. And even if it's just to stay in touch and create new content, I think for me, I think we're in the right direction. What do you guys think?
Totally agree.
I agree, man. I think that, I mean, first year is always a learning year, and I think that, by having a first year as a learning year, we've definitely learned from our mistakes. I mean, just as an example, I mean, we learned from our mistake from last week or 2 weeks ago with Sean. I mean, we just didn't have enough time, and it would have been nice to actually be able to visit with him at the end of the interview and kind of get to know him, because man, that cat was a serious, interesting guy to talk to.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like he could have talked for probably 3 hours.
Yeah, I think what we're gonna start doing too is we're gonna start probably getting bigger people on the show, and then we'll give them as much time as they need. It's just like I said, it's a learning curve. Year one, looking forward to year two. So a great email again. Very interesting. I like those deep dive emails. And go ahead, Tom.
No, I think it's interesting, and that came from Ireland, so it just shows you the reach of the podcast and the internet, and how we're all over the place.
Yeah, me and Tom are on the analytics for the audio podcast, and it's pretty interesting when you see it'll list every episode. And surprisingly, in our top 5, the interview we did with Dennis on his life-changing journey is in our top 5. So you never know. You never know what hits home. And I think episode 3 is our most downloaded episode out of all the audio files. So we're on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora, Apple, iTunes. So we're out there. It's just a matter of if you're we're not hard to find. You just gotta look, gotta search it and look for the mugs, and you will know that it's us. So let's get before we start talking football, let's talk a little wrestling. Yes. My buddy, my new friend, Brad, from the Deep South, from the Mid-South area, if you're going by territories, let's talk some wrestling. You and Chris, you've been chomping at the bit. Let's go. So, Brad, what's the wrestling news for the week? I'm gonna feed it to you. What do you got?
Well, I was just watching SmackDown last night, Friday night. Jesus, And so anyway, it really feels like that whole bloodline story is starting to come to its head. You know, they have a history, you know, interrupting matches and throwing matches and stuff like that. And so on SmackDown, Nick Aldis came out and was like, hey, you guys keep interrupting matches. I've already set the Royal Rumble Fatal 4-Way. Y'all still out here doing this. By the end of the night, y'all going to be in a tag match. It's going to be, you know, 3-on-3. It's going to be Randy Orton, you know, LA Knight, AJ Styles versus the Bloodline. Obviously, Roman Reigns wasn't there. So then Paul Heyman had to go source that third guy. Surprisingly enough, nobody wanted to join in with that. I think they're trying to head that finally, you know, I think it's time. This bloodline storyline has been running. It has ran its course. You know, I think it's time to kind of let's let that one go. But you know, I do kind of feel bad for Cody Rhodes on the back burner for all this. Like, they're gonna finish these storylines with the bloodline. You know, they're supposed to finish his story. He's supposed to win his championship. And I'm feeling more and more like that's not gonna happen. Like, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, a lot of these other stars have come forward, and especially with the return of CM Punk, and they're like, y'all were great in the WWE. Y'all left. Y'all came back. What makes you think that you can just come in and have a title shot and take this belt when, like, you weren't here doing this work? And as much as I love Cody Rhodes, and man, I kind of feel what they're saying. Like, I get it, you know. I still want him to win. I still would like to see him hoist that belt up. You know, his dad never had that opportunity. So just for the nostalgia of it, you know, I really want to see it. But also, my friend Derek, he lives in Florida, went to an AEW live event. So shout out Derek, if you're listening to a podcast, I tossed him the link. And I'm gonna kind of throw him under the bus with a little sneak attack here. I asked him how the crowd looked. You know, and he said that the floor seats were packed, but the upper levels was pretty thin. And, you know, just based off the pictures, there was Edge, Sting, all their major stars were there, and they couldn't sell out this venue. You know, I mean, that's kind of telling, I think, of what's going on with this company. When WWE did live at Madison Square Garden, CM Punk's return match, and they sold the place out. You know, so I don't know, man.
I think the AEW will beat this one to death. AEW caught lightning in a bottle because they needed a good number two that could compete with WWE. At the time, Vince was still at the helm, and you know how Vince is. He never really gets it. He gets it promotion-wise. He just doesn't always get it wrestling-wise. So they were a great, but they kind of did it to himself. I mean,
Yeah.
if they right now they're booking still big venues, why don't you go to smaller venues? Why don't you go to the 10,000 seat arenas and under, or 5,000 seat arenas and smaller, and make the crowd louder in a smaller place, and it seems more jammed. But I don't think the promotion really knows how to book. But Chris, Ed, Tom, chime in.
Well, I'm going to chime in here first.
Go
You know,
ahead.
first and foremost, I will just say this. AEW, Andy and I are available to be put on contract, just for the record, okay? And I know
Yeah.
that Brad, Chris, and Tom, we will be more than happy to come in and become the creative and writers for you guys, okay? No problem. I mean, you know, you can Tony, come put me on a jet any day, and I'll come work for you, okay? So I got no problem with that. I'm putting my resume out there for you, Tony Khan. Come
I
see
will
me,
turn-
brother. Come listen to me, okay? I mean, you know,
I will guarantee I will hire 5 people and turn that company around, and you will see some old school wrestling angles that people have never seen before that have actually just been stolen. I mean, we'll get back to the yellow dog gimmick. We'll blind somebody's eye and have them think that they didn't see the first birth of their kids. We'll do the whole thing. We'll do the whole thing over again. And these kids will never know what happened. And the first people we're firing is the Young Bucks. Sorry, they're just a detriment to wrestling. Sorry.
Well, you remember like the heyday, the Attitude Era, like WWE peaked when WCW was also at its best. Like, WWE needs AEW to be successful.
that's right.
Period. And
Yeah.
Andy, you said it best last week. WWE's got 3 brands between Raw, Next, and SmackDown. They need to trim down the talent, like you said, combine these 2 brands and make it just Raw, SmackDown, but under one echelon. And AEW has to be successful. If something happens to AEW, WWE will equally suffer. It's just gonna happen.
Hey, just a real quick thing, just to put the territory thing in play. The world class area, with the Von Erichs, everybody's a Von Erichs fan now. Everybody watch the Von Erichs. It's the new sexy thing. They see, the whole deal. I was there, the blah, 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 blah. They ran that whole territory with 8 rostered guys, with just a revolving bottom. 8 guys. And 3 or 4 of them were the Von Erich brothers. So go figure how you can run a promotion successfully for a long time. I mean, the greed kicks in after a while too. That's why they all went out of business. But you can run a promotion thin, keep top tier talent, and if you're not mid, see you later. All that, you don't need. People do not want to see women's wrestling. I'll be the first one to say they do not want to watch a 2-hour show with any women's wrestling.
I've been saying that.
Here's my view on that. Valets, everybody likes a hot valet, the Missy Hyatt, the Sherry Martel, the one that's going to get involved with her pocketbook or hit somebody with a pocketbook with a brick in it, grab an ankle, distract the referee. That's all we want to see. I'm sorry. I'll be the one to say it. If you hate me, send an email. We'll love to talk.
Andy, don't worry. I've already contacted Small Print Lyman on that one.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing: if you are going to do a women's wrestling thing,
do it right.
Give them their own show. Don't put them on Raw or SmackDown. Take NXT and turn that into like a woman's, almost. I don't want to use the wrong reference, but Glow, like how Glow was. You don't have to get goofy with it, but have a legit woman's WWE show. And then if you're that kind of guy that wants to watch that kind of wrestling, there's the show for you. Hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll be a ratings boom, but I doubt it. Nobody wants
the
to
other
see
night on Raw. I mean, there was 3 women's matches at 30 minutes apiece.
Oh,
I'm
no.
like,
no.
and there are some female. I think Rhea Ripley is a generationally talented wrestler, man or woman. She is incredible. Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair. I'll put Becky Lynch in. There's a handful, not enough to sustain a whole brand or a whole show. There's way too much.
But that goes back to what Andy just said. Okay, fine. Then have 8 of them, and then you can have the revolving door and lower end talent. But build a story with and do it that way. I don't think you need to have a stable of 50 women's wrestlers. I don't think so.
No,
NXT should be all women's wrestling.
Yeah,
but here's the thing.
Change the name of it. Change it to like something. Just have Triple H go in a new direction.
Yep.
With a new era of WWE, and give them their own show.
Yep.
Let guys that want to watch that, and or kids or whatever, that for a different generation that likes that stuff. But don't interrupt. And Raw shouldn't be 3 hours. It should be 2 hours. The story should continue on the SmackDown, lean up to the pay-per-view, boom, 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 done.
Yep.
I hated when what got me to stop watching wrestling on the regular with WWE is they had a pay-per-view for SmackDown and a pay-per-view for Raw. No.
But Andy, it goes back to what we were talking about before. The thing is, it's like, if you watch a lot of those AEW interviews and promos that they cut, they're not good. They're not good. There's no charisma. There's nothing. If you look at some of those promos that they did about 2 years ago on AEW, and they had Tully Blanchard in the background, he's making these faces and making kind of expressions to kind of make the promo be better, right? Yeah. None of these new guys do any of that.
No.
And the thing is that, and honestly, I mean, The Rock, Stone Cold, I mean, even Hogan, Macho Man, like those guys are generational talents on the mic. I mean, like in Triple H, I mean, he's not really talented anymore.
No.
He was good on the mic too. But I mean, nobody's as good as like Piper or Flair,
Mm-hmm.
Chris, you got anything to add?
Boy, we unraveled a lot in that last 10 minutes. That's all I can say. No, I'm with you guys as far as the way too much talent on Raw. On WWE. The shows, I loved it in the Attitude Era when Stone Cold was out there on Monday night. Stone Cold was out there on SmackDown. They did have, I remember for a little while, Sunday Night Heat, which once in a while the top guys would make appearances, but it was relatively lower, talent. So I would love to see that all like the storylines mesh. And I hate the two like divides, this champions and one champion. I just, I'm not with that. As far as the women's wrestling goes, boy, I mean, with all the diversity or women's, whatever you want to call it now, you want to put whatever these words, I get confused with all these words that they come up with for all these different things and emotions and stuff. So, but they would never get rid of this now. I mean, they're going to, what is it when they go down to what's it called down, the Middle East, when they go to the Middle East and they put on those
Dubai?
shows. Yeah. And they try to like, promote like, women can do this too. They do it in our country. They should be able to do it in yours type of thing. So it's like, and I'll be honest, I'm not for 3 matches on a Monday night, but I love watching some of those women wrestle. Like Ed said, Charlotte Flair, incredible. You know what I mean? I love watching Lita back in the day. Like there's some girls that just have it and that can do pretty much as what the guys can do. So I do enjoy seeing it. But you can't just, 3 matches in a night for, you got to limit the time somewhat, I guess. You know what I mean?
You're just not booking talent correctly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you're saying, Chris. You're absolutely right.
But you don't need that roster that big though. You don't need that roster that big. You really don't. But Tom, you got anything to add before we move on?
Well, as far as as you just said with the roster size, I think letting some of these guys go is going to help. And I think you're starting to see some of those free agents that they had previously released. All their no compete clauses are all up now. And in the last 2 weeks, you've seen Matt Riddle show up in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he's going to start a feud with, I forget who it is. It's one of the Japanese champions over there. And then you had Nick Nemeth, a.k.a. Dolph Ziggler, showed up there, and he's going to start a little feud with David Finlay in the Bullet Club, it seems. And he just showed up at the TNA/Impact pay-per-view, and he challenged Moose. Moose had won the heavyweight title, and right as he was celebrating, the lights go out. Dolph Ziggler showed up behind him, and they got in a little bit of a scuffle. He knocked him out. He gave him a super kick and stood over him, and it looks like he's going to be there, and he's going to start a feud there. So I think if Impact can get some of these guys, the more competition, the better. I think the WWE, and it'll push AEW, WWE to up their games a little bit. I mean, WWE is, you can see they've upped their game just with how AEW, once AEW got bigger, WWE really picked their game up. So I think if add an Impact and have an Impact add some of these guys, I think it's going to really help the competition. And I think in the end, all the fans will win.
So one of the things we started last year, and we're going to be, go ahead, Ed, real quick.
One last thing to add on what you said, add on, because Tom's absolutely right. Guess what? In any business, competition is good.
Yep. So we'll put a cap in the wrestling for this week, but I will say, Brad and Chris weren't with us last year when we started, and we did Hall of Fame worthy as the list comes out going to WrestleMania. That's going to be awesome. We're going to do that again this year. When they start announcing these wrestlers going in the Hall of Fame, that is one of my Achilles heels, these freaking scrubs that they put in the WWE Hall of Fame. My thing is, I don't care whether you step foot in the WWE ring or not. If you're a Hall of Famer, you're a Hall of Famer. I mean, Abdullah the Butcher is, he's had his moments. Never wrestled in the WWE, but he's a legit Hall of Famer because he was box office. That's my thing. But when you got Coco Beware in there, or the unpredictable Johnny Rods, and that's your measuring stick, do you put Coco in because of the bird? So we're going to be getting into that season coming in. So it's going to be great. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. And another thing I'd like to do, maybe something to ponder. Every week we should pick an episode of old school wrestling. We all watch it, and then we critique it afterwards. If we could watch them in chronological order and follow the story along, all 5 of us, and watch the angles play out for the younger people on the panel, might not have seen some of these good angles. Like a cat dog getting blinded by the Freebirds and can't see the birth of his first kid. Great angle. So something to think about, fellas. So we'll cap it off. Thomas?
Yo.
This is your time. It's your time. Brought to you by Brock Street Brewery. Take it away.
All right. Tom's Shitty Picks is brought to you by Brock Street Brewing Company, located at 244 Brock Street South in Whitby, Ontario. The brewery is home to a banquet hall, an on-site restaurant, and a members lounge. Everything they brew is done in-house, including their sours, lagers, and their vodka soda. They have something for everyone, so if you're in Whitby, go check them out and tell them the 1973 podcast sent you.
Yeah.
Speaking of shitty picks, I just want to say, a certain someone has been railing for about the last month about his Super Bowl pick. And I don't want to say anything about shitty picks or not, but
Okay, Brad.
already down the toilet on that one, AC.
They flushed the
What do you-
Browns
what do you
down the
want?
toilet.
Hey, what do you want from me? I didn't watch a game this year. Didn't even turn on the TV and watch not 1 minute of it. Did pretty well with the picks, I gotta say. But I will jump on that grenade. Now, if I'm somewhere and I hear good dirt and it's sports related, I'm not supposed to bring it to the podcast. What if it happens? Then I look like a genius, more than I already am. Look at
What Brad started drinking your Kool-Aid, and now look what happened.
So is that your pick for the week?
No, my pick, I'm going to go, there's only one game really left, or 2 games left for this week. I'm going to go with the Philadelphia game. My pick of the week is going to be DeAndre Swift because Philly is hurting right now. A.J. Brown's out for the game. Jalen Hurts has a fractured thumb. He's going to try to play with it. Devontae Smith is banged up, so I think the only chance is going to be to try to run the ball. So I think Swift will have a pretty decent game.
Tom,
AJ Brown deleted all of his Philadelphia Eagles stuff off of all of his media accounts today too. I don't know if anybody saw that or not.
Yes,
Yeah,
they
I
did.
feel like he does that every season, every team though. He's a little bit of a diva. So
You telling me wide receivers are divas, Brad? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Come
Hey,
on, man.
for
Tom,
sure.
when you run out of football before baseball starts, you should do some hockey fantasy picks. Just saying.
Absolutely.
Just saying. Speaking of that, before we move on to your foosball, I got to rant about this. I absolutely growing up loved the NHL All-Star Game. That was my thing. I even said on this podcast that they dropped the ball with the Winter Classic, not making it the All-Star Game, where it's every year, it's outdoors, a different venue. You get the top stars. Everybody will come out to see all the guys play outside. Could do an old-timers game. It would be fantastic. The NHL, you dropped the ball on that. You even dropped the ball on those jerseys this year. Awful. That is terrible. Looks like Pride Month. That is awful. Those jerseys are horrible. Did you see them, Tom?
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely horrible.
oh. Ed, have you seen them yet?
I have not seen them.
I know Chris has got one on order, but I don't want to.
Whoa.
I just loaded it up right now on the webpage. I
Oh.
didn't know what they look like before. Surprisingly, them are
I'm
Chris.
going on the handheld computer.
they're pretty. They're pretty.
Oh, Chris, come on. I know.
Is this it? The one with like the teal blue or something in it?
Yeah, it's teal blue. It looks like it has like a star in the front. It's they're unique, that's for sure.
They
Yeah, those
totally.
are hard to look at.
Yeah, they totally pimped out that All-Star game, but that's my rant.
Okay,
for-
I'm looking at it for the first time.
There's 4 of them.
I'm just gonna say this, Morris, you make me sick when you speak.
Yeah,
I'll
those
just
are
leave it at
terrible.
that. I know that there's 2 people on this podcast that know what that reference is from.
Yeah. So let me.
$98. What a bargain.
What a bargain. Yep. Get your Swayman while it's still there.
Speaking of Swayman, interesting little comment he made last night. I don't know if you heard when he got named to the All-Star team yesterday. They actually asked him about it, and he came out and he seems like he's got some bad blood about the whole arbitration process and how he was in it last year. He said something along the lines, I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like, boy, I wish I knew this. I wish I had this accolade as I went into the arbitration hearing. And then he says, because I heard a lot of things that a player never wants to hear, which, I mean, that's the team's job, is to talk the guy down, but it sounds like he might have a little bad blood towards Sweeney in the front office.
Yeah, you
I
never
just
know.
want to step in here for a second.
Sure.
Packers are 34 and the Dallas Cowboys are 10.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm watching.
Oh, it's going to be like when we did the podcast and the Bruins lost.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. That never happened.
So let's get
Let
the
them gas
let's
New England when that happened.
let's get the football rants going. Ed,
All right.
let's talk about the Belichick. Let's talk about the Pete Carroll. Let's talk about all that stuff.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Look, first and foremost, I mean, Belichick is the GOAT. There's no, you can't dispute that. 7-18 in the playoffs. You can always make the debate that, he wouldn't have gotten that without Brady. Well, funny story. He's the one that picked Brady. So the thing about it is that he's the one that created Brady. So for all of that, look, it was such a wonderful ride for everybody in New England. I mean, we can all remember the Rod Rust years of 1-15. The stuff back in the early '80s, and
That
they had
shit stadium.
Sullivan Stadium back when it was aluminum benches, and so to have Belichick come in there and to change that whole culture and to have 20 years of just truly greatness. I mean, think about this. They went to 9 Super Bowls basically in 20 years, roughly of the 20, I mean, so think about that. So if you do it with the years that he was there with Brady and that type of thing, he essentially went to the Super Bowl half of the time that he was there. I mean, and all the championships and stuff like that he won. I mean, he really is the greatest coach of all time, National Hockey League. I'm going to click it to Saban. I mean, another GOAT. I mean, he really was. He really, I mean, not everybody loved him, but man, that guy, I mean, he sold you straight. He told you he had expectations, and and I mean, I love to see his temper tantrums on the sideline. They were great, and just great coaching to see him kind of step away. I mean, I do believe that he is 72 years old, and he's probably getting a little tired, and I believe that he just bought a new car dealership down in Miami. So it's time for him to live on the lake and have a good life. And then Pete Carroll, another great coach. I mean, think about this. He won a Super Bowl and a national championship. You can't take that away from the man. He's a great coach. So to see 3 great coaches, step away one way or the other this week, it really was truly just a sad day for football. And because, I mean, in my opinion, even though one of them is for pure entertainment only, just saying, I mean, it's hate to see all of them step away.
Fellas, chime in.
Brad?
Yeah, I saw this meme today, and it was like, there's no Saban, there's no Carroll, there's no Frank Beamer, there's no Les Miles, there's no Coach Ed Orgeron, there's no Urban Meyer. I mean, the list was extensive, and it was like, fellas, your childhood is over. I was like,
There's no more Aunt Jemima bottles.
Yeah, because they got canceled.
No more
right?
Land Lakes anymore.
No more Land Lakes.
Yeah, but I was like, man, that is so accurate and sad at the same time. But also at the same time, like, college football is different now. None of those guys can compete in this new landscape. The NIL deals have changed college football. I know the purists are like, oh, the kids are going to play for the love of the game. That's why it's so much better than the NFL. Well, look, man, now they're not playing for the love of the game anymore. They're trying to get paid in college, which they should. If the school's making money, go watch that Johnny Manziel documentary. How much money A&M made off of Johnny Manziel? How much money did Manziel get out of those deals? Nothing.
0.
He went and sold his own shit.
That's
he
right.
started his own NIL.
That's where he made all that money.
Yep, he started his own NIL deals.
He did,
because it was illegal back then. And so like Quinshon Judkins just left Ole Miss to go hopped in the portal to go play for Ohio State, and the rumor is like it's about money. And as a college running back, I've talked about this with Ed. These dudes get used up in college. They get a rookie deal in the NFL. They do really well in the NFL, maybe for 3 or 4 years, and they're done. Nobody will pay them, and they wind up bouncing around for pocket change. So now these young guys, they're trying to get paid. Archie Manning is one of the highest paid quarterbacks in college. He doesn't even start. He makes more than Brock Purdy. Let that sink in.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I think Saban and a lot of these old school heads, man, like college football it's not what it is anymore. So,
Tom,
that was a great point, Brad. That's what I was going to bring up. With these older coaches, can't really control these kids anymore with the NIL and the transfer portal. So it's harder and harder for these new guys, these old guys, I should say, to control them. And I think that's why you're seeing all these schools go with the really young guys. And as far as Belichick, he's not going to be out of a job for long. Somebody will.
No, not with what's going on this afternoon.
He's going to get hired very quickly. I don't think he's going to go with Dallas, only because I don't think he and Jerry Jones would be able to coexist. And I mean, Belichick and Kraft's son Jonathan were they had an expose came out in the last week or two, and Jonathan Kraft and Belichick couldn't stand each other. And I think Jerry Jones and his son are 100 times more, I won't say flamboyant, but more involved and hands-on than the Kraft. So I don't think he's going to end up there. I think they'll end up going with maybe even Dan Quinn. I don't know, but I mean, you never know. But
allegedly, Belichick was in Vegas last night with Brady.
Well, that's the funny thing, because it's everybody talks about how their big feud, and then it'd be funny if Brady ended up hiring him. I mean, granted, Brady only has a small percentage in the team, but I mean, it's still a percentage. It's more than we have. So, but as far as Pete Carroll, I feel bad for him, because he just, now you could tell that they kind of pushed him out, because he came out the next day and said the decision wasn't made by football people. It was made by he kind of made it sound like the owners don't know anything about football, and kind of pushed him out the door. Now he's 71, 72 years old. So I don't know if who's going to take a chance on him, but I still think he could help somebody out. He's got he's got that college enthusiasm, but I don't know if he'd want to go back to the college route.
Chris?
Yeah. Since my microphone's matching the NHL jerseys right now, I guess. No. Anyway, Belichick, Jesus, I was hoping he would stay around as a coach or something. I don't know if you guys know my history at all about football. Yeah, I'm a 49er fan. Okay.
And you can't pass the Corey check, but go ahead.
Definitely not.
Okay.
One reason why I'm a 49er fan, if you don't know this, my brother and my uncle were bandwagon jumpers. Okay. And the 80s, when the Patriots in the 90s absolutely sucked ass, I grew up watching San Francisco 49ers. So that's why I have San Francisco jersey. But at heart, I'm a Bruins fan, I'm a Celtics fan, I'm a Red Sox fan. So like at heart, I still like my Patriots. It bothers me to see him go. I wish he would have stood as, find someone else to do the GM work, have him just coach the team. I think that's where he's best at. Unfortunately, it seems like that's done and over with. I don't know much about Pete Carroll. Don't remember barely him coaching. I know he coached a little bit for the Patriots and all that. I remember his time with Seattle very well. I think he's like third or fourth oldest coach in the in the NFL right now, which is kind of crazy. But these guys will find jobs elsewhere if they need to. I think. And as far as Saban goes, what has he got? 7 national championships, 6 with the Roll Tide or some shit like that. It's just 3 studs. You know what I mean? All
Roll
3
Tide.
of them just, they're awesome.
Brad, Roll Tide.
Oh.
Hey, is there any truth to the rumor with the football talk that Deion Sanders is going to Alabama?
No, Alabama already hired their coach.
Okay.
They hired the Washington coach.
Yeah, they hired the guy out of Washington. Out of two successful seasons and a trip to the Natty. Now he's already at Alabama. So
Gotcha.
we'll see how that goes.
Yeah,
but a lot of the players from Alabama and Washington all hit the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens over the next couple months.
Okay. One quick thing before we move on, football talk. You guys wanted to rant about the national championship really quick. Ed?
I thought it was a great game. Michigan came out and they just stomped Washington. And the thing about it is that they pushed them all around. And I thought that Michigan deserved to win. And for all these naysayers that said, well, they cheated, wow, all this stuff, all this. Bottom line is a funny story. They played better after they got caught for cheating. Tell me that. How does that work? They beat Washington, they beat Alabama, and they beat Ohio State. How does that work? Tell me how that works if you're cheating, that they played better. So I don't believe it. And the thing is like, I will say this, that kid Penix from Washington, man, that kid, big heart, man, they hit him every chance that they can. I think that they showed a stat that at one point he dropped back 17 times, and I believe that they hit him 12 times. I mean, that's not a lot of time. And he stood in the whole game and he was taking shots the whole game. So Washington did come to play. Michigan just was the better team. And they showed that they were the better team, beating Ohio State. Beating Alabama, regardless of whether or not that they beat Alabama in overtime or not, it doesn't matter. They beat them, and then they won the national championship game. So kudos to Jim Harbaugh and his staff. I think it was a great game, and that's how I felt like it was going to turn out.
Yeah, screw all these naysayers, cheating, all this bullshit. God, we all know this happen. If you're an actual fan, we all know this shit happens all the time. What's the difference from he could have had anybody. He could have had his uncle, his brother-in-law, someone that nobody knows in the stands taking pictures of these signals, doing whatever. Like, come on, guys. Like, this happens all the time. It's cheating bullshit and suspensions. Good for him. Glad he won it. I liked it when he was with the Niners. Good man. Good for him. I was hoping he was going to pull it off and give the middle finger right to those suspensions. Good for him.
Thomas?
Yeah, he now the Harbaugh watch starts because he's met with one team in the NFL already, and he's got 2 interviews lined up. So he may be done with Michigan. Who knows? I have a feeling he may jump ship.
Yes, Chargers. It looks like he had an interview with, or he's going to interview with the Chargers.
Oh, I did not know that.
So you guys ready to put a pin in this football talk for this week and move on and start wrapping
Sure.
things up?
Sure.
All right. So Thomas, we're kicking it back to you.
All
Talking
right.
about one of our favorite spots. Go ahead.
This week's album of the week is brought to you by Purchase Street Records, located at 53 Popes Island, Unit 2, New Bedford, Mass. Or you can go online and visit them on Facebook. They have a Facebook page, and they have a purchasestreetrecords.com. Purchase Street Records is Southern New England's largest independent record store.
All right, guys, my pick sold. I am picking one of my favorite albums of all time, Wasp, The Crimson Idol. You cannot find this album. It's got the hit Chainsaw Charlie on it, but I love every single song. I want you to come down, pick it up, say hi to Roger.
Back to you.
So we'll do a quick shout out where everybody get a little chance to get something in, and then we'll wrap it up for the week. Ed, what do you got?
Well, I'm just going to go out here way out. I'm going way out on a limb here for a couple things. First one is going to be, don't forget to eat your peanut butter Snickers. Eat both squares, please. Check out Steve the Shark. Check it out. They're delicious. Anyway, I think they're just circling back honestly about the whole Belichick thing. I really think it was so great, a great time to be alive as a New England Patriots fan, coming from where we came from back starting in the early 80s for me. And it was sad to see him go. I do believe that Robert gave him a really good send off. And I think that it was just, it was time. And I think that, I think that all the, as other people from the New England area will say, the Pink Cats don't know what they had. So,
Brad, you got anything?
Nope. I just want to go finish this game and maybe
you gonna cry in the corner?
So
Chris. Oh, we lost Chris.
He's on mute. He doesn't know it.
My bad.
Yeah.
I had something stuck in my throat from earlier. I had to clear it.
I bet. Remember this,
right?
PG.
So 2 quick shout outs. One, we'll give it to Brado over here. Hey, they look like they're gonna put up another 7. You never know. The game's not over. Don't commit suicide yet. We're good.
Not yet.
All right. And the other, I'm gonna do a quick shout out to the power skater. My son today, we had a half sheet of practice, but we had a lot of people away from vacation stuff. So I think I had like 7 or 8 kids today at practice. I was by myself running it. I joined up with the other coach on the other half of the ice. I said, hey, let's run a full sheet here. And he was like, yeah, sure. So we ran a full sheet. It was peewees with squirts. It's fine. They hung in there. It was great. My son wore the 1 pound on each skate. And let's just say he got his workout. He wasn't joking. He got off the ice and I don't know if he was exaggerating a little bit, but he was kind of like, oh, my leg, full ice. Imagine we're doing like full ice drills. We're skating hard the whole time. So for him to start off with a full ice sheet and with those 2 pounds on, 1 pound on each skate, worked his ass off. He came off the ice covered in sweat. He was limping when he got home. I don't know if he was trying to exaggerate that to mom so mom can coddle him. But anyway, it worked. I'm happy with it. I neglected to take pictures. I'll get that done next time we get out there on the ice. But so far, good feedback. He's all excited too. He's like, yeah, I can feel my legs getting hard already. Like, all right, sure they are. But hey, if that's the placebo effect that's gonna work, go for it. I'm all for it. So
Right.
I'm gonna watch that skate speed, see if we can pick it up a little bit, and I'm excited for the next few
Hey,
weeks.
don't forget promo code 1973 for the skate weight for Power Skater. We need to talk more about that as the weeks go on, Ed, about the promo code. And I'll save Tom for last. Shout out to my boy, Tuffy. Just turned 14 years. He's on the retirement tour, getting a little emotional around the Halloween episode. Still kicking. He's eating raw food. He's on the carnivore diet. All he's eating is raw hamburger, and we're cooking it up for him every day. And he's coming around that last turn, but he's still with us. And I don't want to get too emotional on this, talking about the furry friends around the house, but 14 years with that guy. It's been a great journey with him. And Tom, you're going to bring us home for the end of this episode. What do you got?
I don't really have anything too much, but I just want to say, I want to give a shout out to all the crazy ass people that are out running and training for the Boston Marathon around this area right now. Because the last week and a half, it's been rainy, snowy. The wind's been blowing like 40, 50 miles an hour. And these bastards are still out there running and training. So, I mean, more power to them, because I know I would never be out there. I'd be running on the treadmill, if anything. But shout out to them.
Okay, so that's it. Episode 48, little deep dive. We're deep diving. We're doing new things. We're creating new content. We'll be here next week. And thanks for everybody for watching. Keep watching. You never know what you're going to see. Or you never know what you're going to hear, I should say. Later.
Later.
Later. Thank you, everybody.
Touchdown.